Okay, so welcome. This is I'm Tom Tarduano. I'm from the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences in the Financial Aid Office, and this is a presentation for entering PhD students concerning your funding. So this is tailored to the students in astronomy, chemistry, physics, psychology, statistics, and I said biology or earth environmental sciences. It can apply to you as well if you will be you'll be on appointment. And by appointment, it means you'll be appointed as a teaching fellow or a graduate research assistant. So you're holding a university appointment, and therefore you will receive your funding as salary semi-monthly from the university. If you're not holding an appointment, that's for the students who are not here, they'll receive their money as stipends. And that usually it does come twice a year in September and in January, but you'll be on a semi-monthly payroll, so you'll be receiving your pay twice a month. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So we're going to cover today's session, the introduction of basically what to expect, an overview of the PhD funding, the funding disbursement process, what's your responsibility, the enrollment categories, which are incredibly important, although they may not seem it, and the timing and the next steps, and the Q&A. So if you have any questions that come up during the presentation, just put it in the Q&A and someone will try to answer it, or we'll get to them at the end of the presentation and Kate will come on and handle the Q&A at that point. So your registration is the driver of all things important. So you want to definitely pay attention to that, and the things that are your responsibility, even though you're fully funded, you still have to make payments. So the important people for you to be aware of in your department is the first person is the Director of Graduate Studies, and it's commonly referred to by the acronym of DGS. And they have an academic role, but they also coordinate with the DAF, which is the Director of Academic Administration and Finance, which every department has one. And that's a good point person for you to deal with. They work with the DGS, and in some departments, they deal with the business manager. Sometimes the DAF is the business manager. They also process payroll funding when students are on appointment, departmental funding, and external funding. So each department has a dedicated financial aid officer. I deal with the students in the natural sciences generally. If you have a question about who your dedicated member is, the financial aid office, that link below financial aid department liaison is the link to break down the departments, and you're either dealing with myself or Kate Jenkins or Sandra Peters. And you can find out which person you'll deal with in on that web link. And this was good in terms of coordinating internal and external funding sources. If you have an external award, you first want to let your DAF know, your DGS, and then also let us know in the financial aid office, so we ensure proper distribution of the funds and compliance with GSAS and university funding policies. Other offices may provide valuable information on potential funding opportunities, so that not all messaging and communications about money will come from the department or financial aid. So you want to be aware of that. You can receive information from Office of Student Affairs in the graduate school, Compass, or Diversity and Inclusion. So these are all departments in GSAS, or the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences. So let's go to the next slide. So to give an overview of the PhD funding for U.S. citizens and permanent residents, the tuition and fees are paid as part of your fellowship. So not all of your fees, but just about are paid. It includes your health insurance for you and your eligible dependents, if applicable. So you want to check out the health website and see if you how to get your dependents registered. And if you want to waive your medical insurance, but your medical insurance is paid by your fellowship, your health service fee and your medical insurance are both covered. And there's fellowship information. You see the link down below. It says fellowship-information-doctoral students. This is an important website that gives you the breakdown. You'll be receiving, to cover your living expenses, your teaching appointment or your graduate research assistant will receive salary semi-monthly. This is subject to tax withholding since it is issued as salary, and any information you may need is on our tax information site for GSAS. So we are not permitted to answer tax questions for liability. We don't want to give the wrong information, and we are not tax experts. So you want to definitely check the tax information site, and if may be advisable to have an accountant work with you or a tax expert to give you advice on how to proceed with your exemptions and filing and all. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, so here's a breakdown of the best websites for your departments, and since this the humanities and social sciences, of course, this is those students are not present in this presentation, but students from statistics may be in here, or the other natural sciences, and these are the websites that are very helpful in terms of giving you information about your fellowship support for the PhD programs and your guaranteed years of funding while you're a student. And most of the students here are in 12-month departments, so you will receive salary from September of starting 2024 through August of 2025. It's a full fiscal year cycle, so it continues through the 12 months, since the students in the 12-month departments are in labs or conducting research over the summer, and they're funded typically from grants. So important additional resources can be found in terms of your the links on this site. For Columbia Housing, you're guaranteed 5 academic years of subsidized housing from Columbia. You have full health insurance. It's on the student plan for eligible dependents. The health insurance coverage while on official medical leave. So for the first semester, you definitely covered if you take a medical leave of absence, that your medical insurance continues to be covered, even though you're not registered, you're on leave if it's medical leave. There's subsidies towards optional dental insurance plan you can opt into. And there's accommodation for parental responsibilities if you are expecting a child while you're in your PhD program. And if you have a child, there's child care subsidy, so you want to look into that as well. And there's other funding options through the graduate schools for attending conferences or international travel. And you have gym access also covered in your service and support fee for the eligible years while you are enrolled. So this is important. What's your responsibility? And the most crucial one I'd like to bring to your attention is the rent. So even though you are charged rent through your bill, you are responsible for keeping up with the payments every month. The students who do not keep up with the rent payments are the ones who seem to get into trouble. And if you do not keep up with your rent payments and you have an outstanding balance at the end of the semester over $1,000, by the end of the semester, I mean November, you will not be able to register for the spring semester. So you want to keep up with your rent payments. So the money that you receive in your salary will you'll be able to keep your rent payments. It's subsidized if you're in university housing and you are have the funds to pay the rent. So you want to watch your bill, and you will get notices of your bill every month. You definitely want to open it and see what the fees are, since it's, even though you're fully funded, it does not pay your rent. It does not pay your student activities fee either. There's $46 each semester, and this is to support the Arts and Sciences Graduate Committee, your student government essentially, and the activities that they hold. So you want to pay that as you go along. Students ignore that, and eventually it does catch up, even though it just seems $46, but over a number of semesters, it'll be burdensome then, so you just want to pay it as you go. There's a one-time fee, a document fee of $105. It's the first semester that you're enrolled at Columbia University, and this covers your transcripts. It gives you paper transcripts, or it gives you transcripts transmission for life, as well as other options. You have a late registration fee, so you definitely want to watch the registration dates and register as early as possible to avoid the late registration fee of $100, and that'll be your responsibility if you did not register on time. And if you have an outstanding balance, you can incur a late payment fee. The first assessment is $150, and then it's 1.5% of the outstanding balance every month. So it's related to the above categories. you want to definitely keep up with those. And there's also a withdrawal fee of $75. Hopefully no one will need to account for that. Okay, this is incredibly important, the registration category. So unlike most other universities, we have registration categories, enrollment categories rather, at Columbia University for the graduate school and the PhD program. Specifically, we register for residence units. So we refer to it as RU, or a full residence unit. So every semester you have to register for residence units. So you'll be registering for your residence unit, you'll be registering for your courses. So you can register for courses, and if you are not registered for a residence unit, you are not registered. There are no charges applied to your bill. There are no payments issued. There's nothing, funds will not disperse. So you definitely have to pay attention to the residence units. So you will register for a residence unit the first 2 semesters. They're required for the MA as part of your PhD program on your way to your PhD. And then there are 4 additional residence units that you need to register for. All told, it's 6 semesters of registering for a residence unit. So let's just concentrate on that. Each semester, be sure to register for the residence unit. We'll give you the call number. It's coming up, and this is towards your Masters of Philosophy and your PhD and the DMA programs as well. So 6 residence units, and they correspond to the first 3 years of your PhD program. So please pay attention to the enrollment categories. RU equals full residence unit for 6 semesters. So after that, you can we can worry about that after the first 3 years of what the registration categories are. But since you will be appointed typically throughout the program in the natural sciences, you need to be registered for a registration category. The next registration category is an extended residence, but we will not worry about that until your 4th year. So your tuition fees, your health insurance are all driven by this registration category, the enrollment category. So be sure to register as soon as possible. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, so the next steps, complete by August 9th. So you should work directly with your department, the DAF in your department, to complete and submit the required hiring paperwork. And the following forms are generally required. It's a W-4, as you would for any employer, the IT-2104, or one of the other New York State tax forms, a voluntary race and ethnicity form, and an invention agreement is required. And very important is the I-9. The I-9 is a 2-part process to verify your eligibility to work in the United States. So please carefully review the information on the below site to understand the completion process and the documents that will be required to confirm your eligibility to work. So the I-9 V-Verify, it's on this link, and then also the human resources required hiring documents also are on that link as well. So your department may require other forms of documents for their process, such as your CV or resume. Generally, you complete both the federal and the tax forms. Most importantly, the I-9 form verify your eligibility to work in the U.S., and that is done in your department at the department level. So the next steps. So we have a 3-day window to register for the fall 2024. If I were you, I'd register the first day, Tuesday, August 27th. But you have Tuesday, the 27th, Wednesday, the 28th, or Thursday, the 29th. And it's available in SSOL. SSOL is Student Services Online. And once you go to the columbia.edu site, you can easily find the SSOL site. And most of your transactions over the years while you're here will be on SSOL. So the enrollment category, one more time, it's the RU, or residence unit. You're going to register. As you can see, the laser is showing you to use this call number. This is very important. 12006 is your call number to register for the first semester for the residence unit, your enrollment category. So you have at least that and at least one course prior to the end of the registration on Thursday, August 29th. So again, if I were you, I would do it on the 27th just to make sure you don't miss anything. So the next steps for update your address and your direct deposit. So the pay is semi-monthly and it's not issued off cycle. So if you set up everything after September 9th, you will not be included in the September 13th pay cycle. If all of your appointment paperwork is completed on time and without issue, you should have an active appointment in PAC, which is an acronym for People at Columbia, beginning September 3rd. So that's an important date to mark on your calendar, September 3rd. Once you're active in PAC, starting September 3rd, you should complete the following steps prior to Monday, September 9th. So you have a small window, and this is incredibly important. You want to mark your calendars to make sure to catch this to register in PAC. So you want to update your home address in PAC, people at Columbia. You log into my.columbia.edu. You select the view and update your personal information on the faculty and staff page. You scroll down to the resource section and click on the personal data tab. Update your home address by clicking the view and or update your personal data. And you want to enroll in direct deposit. And this is done on the Student Financial Services website known as SFS. So sfs.columbia.edu/direct deposit, and follow the instructions for the payroll enrollment. That's what's relevant to you. The payroll enrollment is very important for you to register for direct deposit, and that's the most efficient way that the university will send your salary funds to you. We do not recommend using the United States Postal Service. We have checks missing. They're hard to track down. The paper checks, they can take a long time. The Postal Service has slowed down in recent years, so it's not as efficient as it used to be. And sending paper checks through the mail is not recommended, just to avoid fraud. Okay, so the funding disbursement process for U.S. citizens and permanent residents. So you have to have a local address in PAC. So that means a New York City address, West 118th Street, West 112th Street, Claremont Avenue, Riverside Drive, your New York City address. You want to have that. That is your local address. Okay. We don't consider that your permanent address. You may be here for 5 years, but it's still your local address, and make sure to put that in PAC. You will have your direct deposit enrollment in PAC. Your registration and enrollment category, RU, and all of your holds must be cleared. So you have an immunization hold, you definitely want to get that cleared, because if you don't do all of these steps, your funds will not be applied to your student account. Your tuition and fees will not be covered. Your enrollment, this has to be confirmed in PAC for everything to start moving, your tuition charges and your tuition payments. And then subsequently, your payroll is processed to the student. Direct deposit, once the checks are issued, usually take 3 to 5 business days to show up in your bank account. And if it's a paper check, 10 to 14 business days. But that's that can be questionable. You just definitely want to use the suggested method of direct deposit. So the fall 2024 semi-monthly payroll begins with the September 13th pay date. Pay should begin reaching students in personal accounts via direct deposit within 3 to 5 days, September 16th through the 19th. So that's when you will receive your first semi-monthly check. And then it's at the end of the month, to September for your second check, and then the middle of, then also these dates in October, after the 15th, like the 16th through the 19th, and subsequently, so semi-monthly. Okay, so the takeaways here. My suggestion is you take action now or as soon as possible. Clear your holds, complete your new hire paperwork, update your address and your direct deposit. The enrollment categories, again, trying to stress how important it is. So you register for courses and you register for an enrollment category. And this, for the first 3 years, it will be one full residence unit. And you had the call number on the previous slides. And your people are here to help you. We are here in the financial aid office, and the DAFs you'll find easily in your department. You may have been dealing with them already since admissions, and your Director of Graduate Studies is also a good resource. But I would start with the DAF in each department. They're an excellent point person and good to give you directives into which direction you should go. So we are at the Q&A session of our presentation. So Kate's going to come back online and handle some questions that have come in during the presentation.
Hi guys, thanks Tom. So we do have a few questions here. One of them, and Tom, actually stay on because this might be more for you depending on how the students shake out. So after they're done with their TA responsibilities and they're simply doing full-time research in labs, does the salary disbursement look any different, or do they still get paid semi-monthly?
They still get paid semi-monthly, whether they're appointed as a teaching assistant or a graduate research assistant. So after the teaching requirements are fulfilled and you're appointed on your PI's grant or departmental funding or training grant, then well, not the training grant, but the other funding, then you will receive your funding semi-monthly as salary is.
Got it. So let me look at a few more questions that came in. In-school deferment. For in-school deferment of undergraduate loans, what's the responsibility of the institution and what's the responsibility of the student? So for those of you who have outstanding federal loans from a prior degree, if you have not entered repayment, you're coming straight from an undergraduate degree and you're currently in your grace period, then once school begins and you are being reported as a fully enrolled student, typically again sometime in mid-September, then that information will be transmitted to something called the National Student Loan Clearinghouse. Your federal loan servicer would receive notification that you are now once again a full-time student and should place your loans into an in-school deferment automatically. For those of you who have undergraduate or prior graduate degrees where you have already been in repayment, the same will happen in the fall. You will automatically be placed into an in-school deferment once registration is reported. However, if you've already begun repayment next summer, once you are no longer fully enrolled, some of you will continue to be fully enrolled, but in the summer, in the event that you are not an enrolled student, you would enter back into your grace period or back into repayment, and you would need to work directly with your servicer to forego making any of those payments. So there's an automated process that will happen any semester in which you are full-time enrolled, such as fall and spring. Summer, your enrollment would vary based on how you're being appointed and what funding you're receiving. But in those semesters, you may need to take, in summer semesters, you may need to take action. If you have private educational loans that are outstanding from a prior degree, then you need to work with your private lender. Many of them do have in-school deferment options, but they may be more limited. Federal loans have an unlimited number of semesters for in-school deferment, which means you would be able to do that for as long as your program may take to complete. However, for private loans, that varies among lenders, so you'll need to check in with them, with your lender directly to see what options you have available to forego payments. I'm wondering whether there will be move-in stipends as I'm struggling with the moving costs to New York. While some departments do opt to provide moving stipends or funds for moving or relocation, those funds, along with any other funding that you receive, will not disperse until you're an actively registered student. So the funding sources from Columbia are all driven by your active registration in an enrollment category, as Tom mentioned, meaning if you have not registered come August 27th, 8th, and 29th, then if you did receive a moving stipend or relocation stipend from your department, those funds cannot disperse until after registration has begun. Stipends are dispersed to U.S. citizens and permanent residents through an accounts payable system. So if you do believe that you're going to have any other stipend funding in addition to your payroll funding, that is a separate direct deposit. When you go to complete the direct deposit based on the instructions that were already provided in this presentation, you can also complete at the same time the instructions for any stipend funding that you will receive. So if in a future semester you are funded by stipends, or you're receiving supplemental stipend funding, which is separate and apart from payroll, those funds would need to be going through the accounts payable direct deposit, which is a separate direct deposit. So when you get to Student Financial Services direct deposit, just complete the process for both stipends and payroll, and you should be all set. So follow-up question about in-school deferment. Is there an in-school deferment form that has sections that have to be filled out by the student and some representative, and who would the representative be? In most cases for federal loans, you'll be able to complete that deferment and forbearance online without any necessary form from the school. However, with private lenders, some of them do require that the institution fill out something to verify that you are currently enrolled if for some strange reason that lender does not participate in the clearinghouse. Many private lenders also participate in the clearinghouse, but if you're doing it outside of your registration, for example, now, to give yourself a forbearance buffer prior to coming to school and save yourself on those payments, any form that you have, you can send directly to your financial aid liaison for completion. We would coordinate if necessary if those require an enrollment verification, which is done by Student Affairs. But I would say Columbia is a big place. Feel free always to reach out to one of your financial aid liaisons, which for many of you on this webinar is going to be Tom. And so just reach out to him with questions and he can coordinate. And, you know, anything that you have that was very specific in terms of questions related to your admissions letter, questions related to individual funding or opportunities, Tom's going to be your point person and or the DAF in your department. If you have questions, reach out to your DAF and financial aid, and we can help either get you to the person who has the specific answer, or it's probably something that we're dealing with. Let me see if we've got some more here. Tax withholdings, doing taxes with spouses. As Tom mentioned, as part of your payroll paperwork, you are going to be filling out some tax forms. No one at Columbia can provide you with specific tax advice. So we do recommend that if you have any detailed questions about how the tax implications may affect you directly, that you speak with an accountant or a tax advisor. We do, however, offer a tax sort of planning session in the spring, typically in late February or March, so that students have a sense of how funds that they're receiving, if they're receiving, for example, funds through payroll where they will receive a W-2, or funds from a stipend where you will not receive any documentation, how those can and should be reported, and what your financial or your tax reporting obligations may be. But our office and your departmental offices will not provide you with that specific kind of advice. Neither will HR, due to the libelous nature of tax advising. So just keep in mind that you'll probably need to consult with an external source. To what extent, if any, can we have employment outside of our normal PhD duties? Example, contractor or advisor on a project. So again, the point place is going to be your DAF. Many departments do have departmental opportunities for supplemental income sources, such as being a grader or a reader for another course if you are not appointed for that course, as well as being involved in other research projects that may be happening with your faculty advisor or other faculty within the department across the university. But you will check with your department first. There is a limitation on the number of hours, depending on your status, that you can have, and I believe it's 10 hours outside of teaching each semester. So be mindful of that, but there are opportunities that you can avail yourself of for supplementing the income that you're receiving from GSAS from your standard teaching salary through other appointments or modified project assistance.
And that's in the student handbook. It's addressed specifically.
Yes. The student handbook has that, as well as our website if you're looking for that. But again, your financial aid liaison, as well as your departmental liaisons, will definitely also be able to assist you with that. Let me take a look for a couple more questions. And I think that's actually good. Tax. Yeah, guys, taxes happen. It's sort of something that maybe you haven't been familiar with for a little while if you were a student full-time, but know that there are resources out there. And we do have that workshop that we host in the spring for those of you who may have, more specific questions. We can connect you with folks that could help you more directly. And I think that might be it right now. So welcome to Columbia. We're looking forward to having you this fall. And we're, looking forward to all of that. Let us know if you have any questions. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Hope you guys all have a great day.
Bye.